Welcome to another episode of Municipal Focus. My name is Kevin Tocci, and I will be your host for this segment. What do we talk about on this show? It gives us an opportunity to talk about the different forms of government, and we usually have guests in. It can be on the municipal level, county level, or even the state level. We talk about some of the issues that are going on, whatever the branch of government it may be. So happens that we are fortunate today to be speaking with Dr. Carl Kowalski. He's the chairman for the Whitman Select Board, and he's no stranger to being on this program. So we're going to kind of get a little catch up with Carl. Carl, 41st year as someone who has been serving in whatever capacity, whether it's school committee or on the board of on the select board, and even kind of get a little perspective as we roll into 2025. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you, Kevin.
Did I surmise that well enough?
Yes, that was fine. That was fine. I've been thinking about the 41 years over the last couple of days, and it's been a long trip. I'm trying not to say journey because I don't like that phrase.
You know, why not?
I don't know. Every time someone says, "Well, I've been on this journey," and it just drives me a little nuts. Just like wrap my head around something. That's a phrase that drives me crazy too.
Okay.
Wrap my head around.
How have times changed from? Think back to the first time that you were either appointed or when you were elected. I mean, what has it been like?
Yeah, my first experience in town government, I guess you'd call it, was being on the historical commission, and that was an appointment. There were 3 or 4. I would have called them elderly women at the time that were on the commission, but they're probably a lot younger than I am right now, and there were a couple of men, and one of them was a guy by the name of Russell Gardner, who has passed away, but he was a remarkable person, and we were writing a book. I think it might have been was one of the anniversaries for Whitman itself, and he could trace he was interested in history, and he could trace his ancestry back to the Mayflower, which is pretty cool, and to the Wampanoags. Wow, we didn't talk about how that happened, but that was it, and he because of his interest in the Wampanoags. You knew I worked at Massasoit for a number of years.
Yes.
At one point, we were inaugurating a new president, Dr. Charles Wall, who came from Plymouth, who was a history buff about Plymouth and about everything. And so I asked Russell if he would come to the inauguration and give an invocation, and he did. He gave an invocation in the ancient dialect of Wampanoags. He dressed in leather and feathers, sat on the stage, spread incense or whatever it was around the stage, and sort of blessed the stage. And it was a great experience to have that connection between my work and between what I was doing in the town. I've told this story before. I hope I haven't told it to you. When I was on that board, I was looking through this little book that we were about to make. And I realized that I looked at one picture. It was of a woman by the name of Kathy Keneally, who was a couple of years ahead of me in high school, at Archbishop Williams High School in Braintree. And she was a Miss Massachusetts, but she was from Whitman. She was from Whitman. You can see her picture in the book. She went out with one of my buddies. And what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So I'm looking through the book, and I see a picture of this guy named now I can't remember his name. He was my great uncle.
We'll come back to it.
No, Bert Dyer. I'm sorry, Bert Dyer.
Any relation is to the Dyer Memorial Library?
Yes, as a matter of fact, he's that family. He lived in a house on the corner of Dyer Avenue and South Street. And I can vaguely remember when I was a little kid going to his house and picking grapes off of some grape bushes that he had. And so I mentioned this to the people there. That's my great uncle. And somebody said, I said, he married my grandmother's sister. And someone said, one of the women said, oh, and what was her name? And I said, Gilligan. And she immediately went, oh. I didn't know what was going on. I said, yeah, she was from Weymouth. Originally, as well, we all were originally, because it came down the swamp. But here was the thing: in our family, Aunt Annie was sort of like a black sheep because she went off. She was one of 7 Higgins sisters one of 4 Gilligan sisters from Weymouth, South Weymouth, and the problem was that she had gone off and married a Protestant. It's an Irish Catholic girl who married a Protestant. I was getting shade from the other side because she was a Gilligan. Yeah. Interesting thing, my mother, who was a Gilligan, best friend at the phone company in Weymouth where she worked after high school was a woman by the name of Helen Malnardi, and she kept up with her throughout the years. Helen Malnardi became Helen McGuigan, who was Richie Rosen's mother-in-law.
Right.
McGuigan's is named after her. So there were ties to Whitman that
So deep.
they are deep. When I was 10 years old, my mother and father took the 5 Kowalski kids out to from Weymouth, where we were living at the time, to the Toll House for a dinner, to celebrate my 10th birthday. I was the oldest kid, and I ended up living in Whitman after all those. 50 years ago, we moved here 50-something years ago, and it was special. This is special, something special about this town to me, and I have really enjoyed the different roles that I've been lucky enough to play. As you could say, school committee, the Whitman School Committee, Whitman-Hanson School Committee, and the Board of Selectmen. It's been fun.
How have the times changed, though, from when you initially were on the school committee and you're talking about money, having enough money to be able to, have teachers and be able to provide a quality education to nowadays, as someone who is on the select board, and there's still the conversation about the annual assessment and being able to provide the requests that the schools ask for.
Yeah, I had to kind of, I've changed some. The role has changed. I remember when I was on the Whitman K-8 committee, we were a town department. So when the K-8, this is before the regionalization, when K-8 needed funds, it had to go to town meeting and present a budget in detail, the same detail that the police or the fire or the DPW did. And it was a struggle. It was a struggle, except that the townspeople supported the schools. It was a struggle, but they supported the schools. When we regionalized, it became a different process. The process now is, and it's the same process as today, the schools assess the town, and they give us a figure, and we either vote it up or we vote it down. We don't have to go through a system of justifying every single person, every single expenditure. It's a lot different.
It's unlike town meeting, where Mike Seeley calls out 25 line items, and someone has an issue. Yeah. They'll hold that aside, and then when they go through all 400, 450, 500, how many line items there are in Article 2, then there's the conversation with the ones that remain. That doesn't happen with the school committee.
No, it doesn't. It's just it's a number, and you say yes or no, and it's a lot easier for the schools than it used to be. We were accountable for every single penny. I got in trouble once. I can recall. We were still K-8. We had a 6-person school committee, and I think I was the chair for a little while, and I was teaching evenings at Massasoit at the time. So when it came to town meeting, I showed up right at the start of town meeting. I missed a joint meeting between the school committee and the selectmen and the finance committee. And at that meeting, they had decided to, the budget had already been passed for the schools, but they decided to change it at that meeting. And what they wanted to do was to, I think, cut 2 teams of teachers from the middle school, if I remember correctly, and close a building or something. They wanted make cuts. And I came into the town meeting. I was told by the school committee that this is what they voted to go along with the cuts. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. I don't like that. But I had to deliver it to the town meeting. I had to deliver that message. So, like an idiot, I got up and I said, the schools, the selectmen, and the finance committee voted together to slash this amount of money and people from the budget. But I'm sorry, I have to tell you that, but I can't say that I agree with it. And then I talked for a while about how important the schools were and what a great job they did. And actually, that I didn't do this, but the school people were very good at packing the meeting. And so they packed the meeting and they rejected their proposal and they accepted the budget the way it was done. So I felt pretty good about it until the next school committee meeting. At the next school committee meeting, they took a vote to they moved that I be removed from chair because I didn't follow their directions. If they had all stayed quiet, I would have been done. Except one person had to explain herself as to why they did what they did. And because of that, I was able to open my mouth. And so I talked about, well, you know, the budget for the schools has to be presented at an open meeting. And the schools had presented a budget that was different from the one that you guys decided right before the meeting. So it was actually illegal to do that. You can't do that. So I changed one person's vote. So by a 4-3 vote, I was able to stay chair. The irony is that I had no idea when I made this speech to the town meeting that there was that connection between the first open meeting and the town meeting. That was something I learned in between. So I wasn't really as smart as I appeared to be.
Going from, what made you decide to go from, but what made you go from wanting to be on the school side of things to wanting to be on the town side of things?
Well,
what was that?
I'm on both sides. I've always been a school guy.
Yeah.
However, now that I see, I'm seeing clouds from both sides now, basically. One of the main objectives for the selectmen, for as long as I've been on it, has been to keep taxes as low as they can, but to maintain the level of services that the citizens want and that they value. So when we fashioned a strategic plan a couple of years ago, the basis for that strategic plan was a statement of values that was arrived at by an open meeting with anybody who wanted to show up. And we did a survey of the town, and then we had this open meeting. And in the survey to the townspeople clearly valued the schools, the police, the fire, and the police, and the DPW. I think pretty much in that order. But they wanted great services from those people. Unfortunately, they didn't want to pay for them. So that's been the case. However, what's happened since? We have a new middle school, which is going to be very hard to pay for, but we voted to do it. We have a new DPW building that was well past its time to be built.
Multiple attempts to try to build one.
But we're going to get one. During this period of time, we built a new police station. There's been we're going to be having to spend some more money on the Votech school when they build a new school. There's a whole lot of things coming up now. It's going to cost money. But our taxes up until this point have still remained among the lowest in our area. If you look at the statistics, so people can talk about, well, I'm going to have to move out of town, because we can't afford these things. Where are they going to go?
It's just as costly anywhere else.
It costs more anywhere else. Yeah. Other towns are looking at overrides too, which brings me to the next subject probably.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you. I mean, you look at pale in comparison, how 2024 was and how the town was able to, make it through. Looking ahead to fiscal 26,
Yeah.
I'm sure that there's going to be a conversation,
Yeah.
not only with the select board, but I'm sure you're going to have a conversation with the finance committee.
As a matter of fact, we have we're having a joint meeting with the finance committee at our next meeting in January. I think January. Let's see. Wait a minute. 21st. We'll have a joint meeting with the finance committee, and one of the things we want to talk about is not just we're going to probably need an override, but try to get specific about what kind of override how much of an override we need, what would be the purpose of an override. Well, my feeling is that it should be a town-wide operational override, so that each of the departments realize that they're getting something. Not just a school override, but a town-wide override, but one that has to be reasonable, not looking for luxuries. And that's what we'll start to build at that joint meeting, or start to be talking about it in public so that the taxpayers can see what's about to happen. Whitman, even though it values things that it doesn't want to pay top dollar for, from what I can see over the years, has always come through when it had to. When it came to Whitman students being ineligible to be bused, non-mandated busing, it was the Whitman townspeople that put that on the town meeting warrant to pay for non-mandated busing. Not the schools, but the townspeople decided to do that. When its children were having mental health issues back in the early 80s, the Whitman Counseling Center was begun by citizens from the town. Actually, not by the town government, by citizens from the town. We come through. Well, we come through when we have to. I have faith that we'll do that, even though it's going to be a struggle. But the beginning of the struggle will be at the discussion at the meeting on the 21st. We'll start talking about it with the finance committee. Sean Kane has been kind of leading the charge here. He wants to keep it in the public's eye that there are different kind of alternatives that we can use, and we want everybody to work together, which includes the schools and the finance committee.
Well, if you start pitting each other, if one department starts pitting against another, it doesn't bode well.
No, it's funny because sometimes it's happened. I remember a few years ago, Chief Greno put forth an override for the fire department. Passed.
Yep.
It passed.
Yep.
There was the Save Our Schools movement a few years ago. Unfortunately, that didn't pass. Yep. But there was a lot of energy, but it didn't pass.
I think the reason why Chief Greno's initiative passed was it had been 50 years since, they had been dealing with the same number on each shift.
Right.
He was looking to increase it, and he was showing the progression of, okay, this is what it was like back in 1966 when we had this is what the call volume is. This is what our call volume now, and it's still being expected that we got to race to a scene and be able to provide assistance, whether it's to extinguish a fire, extract someone from a vehicle, or take them to the hospital. It's getting harder and harder with only so many people. When it comes to, I think, schools, I think it's a matter, I don't know if it was just how it was presented. I think a lot of it is in the packaging and how you put it forth. I also look at when the debt exclusion to take the police station and the town hall project out from under the tax levy. Right. That was successful because people saw that it was going to alleviate.
There's going to be an end to it.
Right. Right. It's a debt exclusion because at the end of X amount of time, it goes away. Unlike a Prop 2.5 override,
we have forever.
It's forever.
That's true.
So
probably got to raise up a little bit though, and we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens.
Do you have people approach you on the streets when there's discussion? Have you over the years you've had people come up to you and you have anything that's memorable where someone's like going, Carl, this is what I think.
No, and I don't know why. I can remember when I was on the regional school committee. There was a man on the school committee by the name of Lloyd Patrican, who was he and I couldn't be any further apart with the way we looked at things. Okay, I never voted the same way he voted, but he would get calls all the time. He would say at the meetings, "I got a call from. I got a call from." I'm never getting any calls. I remember when my son was on the school committee for a little while. And the very first vote that my son took on the school committee, I wasn't on it at the time, I was on the selectmen, was to support Lloyd Patrican's motion. I told him, Craig, I can't believe it. What are you doing? But you know what it was? It was about the price of lunch. And Lloyd wanted to keep it down, and Craig was a former student. He wanted to keep it down too. But where was I going with that? I don't even know. Tell me. Okay. I don't know. It was
just the cost of having a good meal, and just a matter of that they were going to raise it.
Yeah. No. It had to do with Lloyd. It had to do with the way we were able to have meetings in which people had differing points of view, and they were meetings that were cordial. They were polite, you know, and I think you could disagree. Oh, I know. You asked me if people come up to me on the street, and they don't. For some reason, they don't. They would come up to other people, but they don't come up to me. I don't think I'm that hard to talk to, but it doesn't happen. And I don't want to encourage it. No, I'm kidding.
Is there any hope that whatever the state is going to provide for local aid could change? Or is it a matter of that this is what our cherry sheets say, and this is what we're going to have to deal with? Because I know for the longest time, revenue has been the problem for the town. That doesn't generate the revenue that it
regionalization. We decided to regionalize. Originally, the K-8 committee didn't want to do it.
Right.
Eventually, it agreed. It saved the town and the schools when we regionalized because of incentive aid from the state.
Right.
But that incentive aid
dries up.
Dried up.
And seen.
Yeah, it did. It just went just like that, which puts us in the position that we're in today, actually.
Well, I know there's been talks about, I know a few years ago, there was rumblings about, should there be a divorce between Whitman and Hanson to go their separate ways?
It would be too expensive to do that.
It'd have two members on both from both towns realize that, or is there still rumbles?
No, if they're rumbles, I think they're just sort of political rumbles to go like this. But I don't think that's going to happen. No, it's not going to happen.
Is the select board a goal-driven board? Do you look ahead to 2025 and? Well, as a group, you hope to accomplish a few things.
We have the same. We have the same the goal that's been there forever, and that is just to provide the best services that we can and as cheaply as we can, but responsibly. That's been a major goal. Part of that is to improve the infrastructure, which we're taking steps to do.
Right.
Schools, DPW building, police station. The library, that was a while ago, but the library, there are good services that are offered, I think. But there are also some things that you look at and you take a big sigh, like the Park Avenue School.
What do you do with it?
We have to find some way to do something with it.
Yep.
The Park Avenue School, it's nothing right now. It has to be torn down probably. There's the Council of Aging does a terrific job. It would be nice if it had a different facility. And that's some of the goals that we have to work on.
Those kind of like next on the wish list.
Yeah. But it's a nice town to live in, though.
We got just like 3 or 4 minutes left. Anything you want to say to the residents in regards to, this upcoming conversation before town meeting and the town's finances, and how they can be better informed as to What's happening?
Well, it'd be good if they watched our meetings, if they went to the town website to be able to watch it, or they can find it on YouTube. It's getting a little more difficult to find it on YouTube these days.
Well, it's funny you mention that because there is a WHCA actually has diversified its YouTube channel, and I believe that the government channel, there's a WHCA government channel for more details.
Right.
Visit our website.
I visited for the first time today.
Okay.
Actually, yeah.
And what'd you think? Did you subscribe?
No, I haven't subscribed.
You will, though.
Yes, of course I will.
Okay.
Sure, I'll subscribe. But what was I going to say?
Well, getting involved as to people.
Yeah.
Watch the meeting.
If anyone watched the meeting the other night, they would have noticed that there's some rumblings going on. Some disagreements between our town administrator and assistant town administrator and the Board of Assessors. And the town administrator read a statement the other night as part of a report with some difficulty she's had with the Board of Assessors. And so we decided to vote to ask them to come to a joint meeting, probably sometime in February, so that we, in an open session, we can talk about the issues back and forth and see what's going on. What the assessors do is pretty important, and we've got to work together as a team: select board, town administrator, assessors, finance committee, all of that. So that's the next thing on the agenda, and it might not be. It could be a difficult discussion, but it's one that has to happen.
Anything you want to say in closing in regards to not only as being a great public servant, somebody who served the town 41 years, different capacities, what it's been like for you and what you're looking forward to continue doing in 2025?
I want to continue doing what I'm doing. I have to say that I've really enjoyed working with you at WHCA, having known you for such a long time. And one of the things I like about talking with you, Kevin, is I can, there's a trust level there. I know that you're going to be
fair.
Yes, you're going to be fair. You're going to listen. You're going to listen as well as contribute, and it's been a good relationship, and I enjoy it. One of the things that we've talked about, but we haven't fulfilled it yet, is the idea of
Radio Classics.
Spreading Radio Classics live to WHCA, and I think we could probably do something, in the future.
Okay.
Not in the immediate future, but in the future. It was a hobby of mine for a while that I liked an awful lot, and I think we have here the ability to replicate it. And there are some people that would also be interested in doing it with us. So maybe we can become producers. We can become the producers. There you go.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank you again for
Thank you.
joining me today.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you for tuning into a program like Municipal Focus. Again, the idea is to better inform you about some of the things that are going on in the various levels of government and with some of the folks who work within that construct. You have ideas for an upcoming episode of Municipal Focus, info at whca.tv, or you can send me a note, Kevin at whc.tv is the way to do so. Until our next conversation, have a great day.